Now, what would be a guaranteed way for a millennial to become a millionaire within their lifetime? That's what I'm about to show you with this time value of money calculator. So let's assume that you're 22 years old and you want to retire when you're 62. How can you make sure that you have at least $1 million when you turn 62? Uh, so all you need to do is have $32,000 today, which you're not going to add anything to for the 40 years. You need to be able to invest that at a rate of 9%, which is the mean average for the S&P 500. So if you bought an S&P 500 index fund, for example, you would probably earn about 9%, and that would be for 40 years. And after all that time, the money would be able to compound, and you would have just over $1 million. Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, well, that doesn't really help me because I don't have $32,000 right now to invest. But don't worry, we can figure out how much you would need to save every month to be able to retire in 40 years with just over $1 million. So let me reset this. So present value, today we don't have any money to invest. We don't know what the payment would be per month. The future value, we want to have $1 million. We're going to invest it in the S&P 500 and hopefully get a return of 9% for 40 years. We'll switch this to annually. So let's figure out what our payment would be, what we would need to save every year to have that $1 million when we're 62. And that would be just about $3,000, which would mean every month you would need to save $250 and invest it at 9% for 40 years. And then if you're 22 years old now, when you retire at 62, you would have $1 million. So what if you wanted to have $10 million? Let's just look at that to see how it changes things. All right, so now you would need to save $30,000 every year, which would be $2,500 a month to retire with $10 million compounded at 9% for 40 years. That might be a stretch, but I think when you look at it as $1 million, which is a pretty good amount of money to retire on, saving $3,000 a year or $250 a month is definitely doable for most anybody who makes $40,000 or more a year. There's really no excuse for not being able to save $250 a month. Right now, what I do is I save $500 a month. So that means I'm saving $6,000 a year. We're going to figure out how much money I will have in 40 years. We don't know what the future value will be. If I put all that money in a S&P 500 index fund, earning 9% for 40 years, compounding annually, I will likely retire with around $2 million. And right now I'm 22 years old. So hopefully as my wage increases as I get older, I will be able to increase the amount of money I save every year, which will only make my future value greater. So if you are around 22 years of age or a millennial, the most important thing you can do is start saving money now. Even if you only save $100 a month, which would be $1,200 a year, with compounding, that will end up to be about $400,000 by the time you retire. That is amazing. People don't understand how important it is to start saving early. Imagine if you waited we'll say 10 years until you're 32 years old, and then you realize you should probably start saving. So that cuts the periods to 30. Let's see what your future value would be. Look, you'd only have $163,000 as compared to $400,000. So that extra 10 years that you started saving early made you a little over about $240,000 more dollars, which just shows how important it is to start saving early. So I hope you found this video helpful, and